place at the same time. However, on Friday, the 21st of April 2023, the two budget votes that would be the last ones would be processed here at the chamber, and that will be followed by voting by the House on the KwaZulu-Natal Appropriation Bill 2023. The chairing of the debate will be undertaken by various chairpersons as per the roster, as assigned by the chairperson of committees, Honorable HGS Mavimbela. The House, therefore, will adjourn immediately when we finish here.
ngikwazi ukungena kuthiwa kufuneka ube nejazi.
Honorable members, this budget debate is conducted through hybrid means and in normal standing rules of the legislature will apply to the debate. Before we proceed to the budget debate, I must reiterate the ruling of the Speaker which relates to connectivity problems. The Speaker has ruled that following measures will be adopted to try and assist members who may not be able to participate in a debate due to connectivity challenges. If a member has a problem with connectivity and is unable to deliver his or her speech, the presiding officer will call the next speaker on the speaker's list so as not to delay the proceedings. If the member regains connectivity before a response to the debate has commenced, The presiding officer will be flexible and allow the affected member to deliver his or her speech, with the proviso that the member connects to the sitting prior to the commencement of the response to the debate. Secondly, we request that a member who is scheduled to participate in a debate should arrange for a fellow party member to be on standby to read the member's speech into the record should the need arise. The presiding officer will allow a fellow party member to read out the speech on behalf of the member who is unable to deliver his or her own speech. If all the intervention fail and a member is still unable to deliver his or her speech and has not managed to arrange for a fellow party member or a whip to deliver the speech on his or her behalf, that speech will unfortunately not form part of the official record of proceedings. In short, if members have connectivity problems, the presiding officers will follow the above guidance to try and assist them. We trust that is in order. Lastly, members who are not actively part of the debate are reminded to mute their microphones and switch off their cameras at all times. Also, members are requested to take all reasonable measures to reduce any background noises that may interfere with the broadcasting of the proceedings. Honorable members, I also wish to confirm that the budget report 2023-2024 of the Office of the Premier has been tabled in terms of the standing rules. We will now proceed with the matters on the agenda, being debate on vote 1. Now, let me call upon our Honorable Speaker, our Honorable Premier, Honorable N. Dube, with 45 minutes to present her budget speech. Nzwakele.
Ungambambisi washo njalo ngisaphefumula. Ngisaphefumula nje ningilinde nje kahle. Ngiqale ngiphefumule. Wakwethu wena. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Nontembeko Boyce, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Mthembu, Leader of Government Business, Mtombeni, my colleagues MECs, and other members of the Provincial Executive, honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, members of the traditional leadership, amakhosi asendlunkulu, kanye noholo usihlalo wendlu yobuholi bomdabu eNkhoisan KwaZulu-Natal. We also wish to acknowledge the business members, diplomatic corps, Director General leading the whole cohort of officials, the people of KwaZulu-Natal, members, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to stand before this esteemed House to present budget of Vote 1, the Office of the Premier for the 23-24 financial year. Delivering his speech in the Nobel Peace Prize in December 1993, President Nelson Mandela described the global audience the ideal of a free South Africa, for which he and many others had suffered for this country to be free. Madiba said, and I quote, "Thus shall we live because we have created a society which recognizes that all people are born equal, with each entitled in equal measure to life, liberty, prosperity, human rights, and good governance. The children must at last play in the open field, no longer tortured by the pangs of hunger or ravaged by disease or threatened by the scourge of ignorance, molestation, and abuse, and no longer required to engage in deeds whose gravity exceeds the demands of their tender years. It is these ideals, as enunciated by Madiba and the principles emanating from our Constitution, that states that we continue to guide our daily work as we strive to make our democracy a reality for all citizens, as expressed through their lives getting better every day. Madam Speaker, Chairperson, we present this budget vote fully conscious that we must and we are going to be able to work with our communities. And in celebrating the coming years, we are approaching the 29 years of our freedom this financial year on the 27th of April. And in about 13 months' time, our country will go to the polls, thus marking the end of the 6th administration and the beginning of the 7th administration. We thus find ourselves standing at the pivotal point in history, leading our province into the historic 30 years since the attainment of democracy, order by implications. Such is a process that provides the benefits of a rear view mirror into the past and adds agency in the pace of delivery and injects a clearer sense of what needs to be done today to transform the lives of the majority of our people and in the future. This month we'll also commemorate the passing of our struggle icon, Chris Thembisile Hani, relentless fighter, unwavering and daring revolutionary. We draw inspiration from Comrade Hani's never die spirit as we continue to draw strength and determination to run the race to deliver on the commitments of the Freedom Charter. Comrade Hani paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we are reminded as this generation that our freedom was not free. We also remember Solomon Kalushi Mahlangu, who was executed by hanging by the apartheid government on the 6th of April, and whose defiance propelled resistance to the regime when he said, "My blood will nourish the tree that will bear the fruits of freedom. Tell my people that I love them." Madam Speaker, Chairperson, we are on certain march to rebuild our province from the triple tragedies of the year 2022. We have seen more agency being exerted in the reconstruction process, employment creation, growing of the economy, and delivering quality of service to our citizens. In February, we delivered the State of the Province address and declared that decisive action and hope must be our anchor as we rise to leave behind the challenges of floods, the lagging negative effects of COVID-19, and challenging economic environment. During our address, we undertook to act decisively in implementing our program of action with the aim of transforming the lives of our people of KwaZulu-Natal into a better life. We outlined programs to be rolled out in the province, provincial-wide, and across municipalities in order to address the urgent challenges of our time, principal amongst which a sustained inclusive economic growth, inequality, poverty, and unemployment. The budget vote of this week that will be delivered by my colleagues builds on the hopeful and decisive actions we announced in February. It provides the opportunity for next few days for the provincial departments to present to the nation and to our people of the province the financial resources that will be allocated to the programs to implement over the 2023-24 financial year, and as a further commitment to bettering the lives of our people of KwaZulu-Natal. This budget vote 1 has a direct line of sight from the State of the Nation address that was delivered by our President, His Excellency, President Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation address, but also the SOPA that we presented, honorable members, but also the budget speech by MEC Treasury, Honorable Peggy Nkonyeni, and the departments that will be presenting their votes being unveiled here this week. The mandate of the office, honorable members, is that it is a center within the provincial government that has repositioned itself to drive the priority areas as announced in the State of the Nation address by our presidency. We therefore draw our implementation plans based on the budget that will be presented by MECs in ensuring that we address the matters of service delivery, we address the matters of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The Office of the Premier supports the government in carrying out its constitutional mandate through enhancing good and cooperative governance within the province in order to ensure that effective stakeholder public participation and engagement, communication, enhancing performance management in all our departments, and accountability through monitoring and evaluation, and the coordinating of all the provincial programs. Honourable members, we also in this budget reflect on the programs that ensures that the rights of our communities, women, youth, and people that are disabled are also on the apex in the administration of this province. We have an obligation to steer the province in the right direction, ensuring that we satisfy the myriad of service delivery needs of our fellow citizens. To this effect, the Office of the Premier is paying attention to the strengthening capacity of planning across departments and elevating the priority of monitoring and evaluation. We are also clear that the major shortcomings of the state in the implementation of its own programs is one area that we need to focus on. And in meeting those targets, the value for money is also something that we need to achieve. We commit, therefore, that this administration that promotes accountability, we are accountable to the people of KwaZulu-Natal as well as to this legislature. Thus, we do by building a source of service delivery that is increasingly capable, ever more professional, and in response to the needs of the citizens as guided by the Strategic Plan 2024 and the Annual Performance Plan of 2023, and all the plans drawn from upon the National Development Plan 2030 and the Provincial Growth and Development Plan 2030. And in line with our budget 2023, we focus on the realization of government's priorities as identified in the State of the Province Address. Thus, we look at the economic transformation and job creation, education, skills and health, consolidating social wage through reliable quality services, spatial integration, human settlements, and local government. We also look at social cohesion, safer communities, a capable and developmental state, a better Africa and the world. Honourable members, it is this latest Africa microeconomic performance. The Outlook report looks at how our African countries are developing. Also, the African Development Bank group projects also look at the next 2 years in the continent and how we have outperformed the rest of the world in the economic growth that has been a real growth, even in our own gross domestic products, averaging around 4% in 2023 and 2024. This is higher than projected globally average of 2.7 and 3.2. The report also places amongst the 10 fastest growing economies in Africa, countries such as Rwanda, that is growing at the percentage that you can see there, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and other African countries as projected to grow more than 5.5%. The Democratic Republic of Congo is growing at 6.8%, Gambia at 6.4%, Mozambique at 6.5%, Niger at 9.6%, Senegal, Togo. As you can see that in the 2019 declaration, the United Nations said, and I want to quote from what the United Nations said. It said the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development promises to leave no one behind and reaching the furthest behind first ahead of this budget. That is why, honourable members, we are saying this budget, this government that is led by the African Congress is not going to leave anybody behind. Ahead of this budget vote in February 2023, Stat SA released the fourth quarter estimate of the quarterly labor force survey, which reveals that the unemployment rate in South Africa has eased to its lowest nearly 2 years. And this is the statistics that honorable members can look for themselves so that when you come here to debate, you know what we are talking about. This, despite the economic disruptions caused by the acute load shedding that worsened during the last quarter of 2022. The Stat SA data also points to the decline of the unemployment from 32.9 to 32.7 in the fourth quarter of 2022, which is the lowest since 2021. While the overall quarterly labor force survey reveals that in the 3 months to December 22, the total number of persons employed increased by 15.9 million nationally. Much work remains to be done before we can claim that we have be able to tame the shrewd and concerned the bull in terms of the unemployment. Honorable members, KwaZulu-Natal government is working hard to reposition itself as a catalyst to Africa's economic growth and investing in strategies that will use our comparative advantages like the ports, the tourism attractions, access to oceans, and the resourceful of our fellow citizens to drive the economic growth. And I know that my colleague, Honorable Mtombeni, will elaborate more in terms of how we are looking as a province, but also what is it that we are doing to be able to reach this apex. The Office of the Premier is rolling out plans to fashion our African economic growth miracle and to become a province rising to defy all factors militating against our success. In fulfilling those tasks, the Office of the Premier is moving away from a mere compliance and ticking off the box to assessing the real impact of the service delivery on identified indexes to be determined if there is any measurable improvement in the lives of our people. And this is what we've committed ourselves as this cabinet members. Thus, through the investments in the digital monitoring and evaluation system, the department will work in ensuring that we establish the development impact of the government policies, plans, and programs. The system will also track the National Development Plan, the Provincial Growth and Development Strategy, and ensure that all of these are translated to effective service delivery programs at the provincial, district level, and even at the local level. Working with Stat SA, the Office of the Premier is procuring services of the statistician to improve the role of research, data collection, and analysis of these data in our province. We have also ensured that we have a memorandum of understanding with tertiary institutions who are part of the Human Resource Development Council to strengthen capacity of 50 formerly unemployed graduates who are now employed in various areas within the Office of the Premier. When we look at how we've moved, honorable members, on the floods, this month marks a year since the devastating floods that struck our province, causing immeasurable devastation in its wake. We feel the pain of families that have lost their loved one. Sithi kubantu bakithi abalahlekelwa zihlobo zabo sikanye nabo emthandazweni. Kodwa siyaqonda futhi ubuhlungu abahleli nabo ukuthi kuzokube manje bangakwazi ngisho ukuthola ithambo ngoba thina siyakholelwa ekutheni kumele ukuthi ithambo lakho ulifihle lapho owaziyo khona ukuthi ulibeke khona. Njengamanje iminyango ebambisene uHealth as well as umnyango wamaphoyisa bayasebenzisana ukuthi kube nohlelo lokuxhumana nemindeni mayelana nalolu daba. We present this budget vote knowing that no amount of money can heal that pain that our people are feeling. However, we want to report that our government has committed itself over 2 billion and 54 million to rebuild the infrastructure that was hit hard by the floods. The biggest commitments of these points that we see is the one that is being spent by the Department of Transport to rebuild road infrastructure network. And in this regard, we report that overall, over 400 million has been spent already, with the Department of Transport spending over 250 million in the next quarter. We are rigorously also implementing our empowerment programs of the vulnerable groups, and we are unapologetic by doing this, honorable members. Ngoba siyazi ukuthi abantu bakithi bahleli phezu kobuhlungu nobunzima obungakanani ngokungabi nawo amathuba omsebenzi. Of the 2,050 million rand, 1.3 billion rand will be awarded to entities eziholwa ngabantu abamnyama, 530 million rand spent kubantu besifazane, ebese kuthi another portion, 20 million, is spendwa kuma which will be allocated over the 20 million over this MTEF, while the youth is getting a sizable chunk of this amount. And lokhu sikwenza ngoba kuyi-policy kahulumeni ukuthi kufanele abantu besifazane, ulusha, ama-military veterans, abantu bakithi abakhubazekile, nabo babe nejoka elehlayo uma ngabe uhulumeni enza imisebenzi nabo njengama-sectors ahlukahlukene. Uma sibheka ukuthi i-province yethu KwaZulu-Natal isebenza kanjani ukuvuselela umnotho kanye namathuba omsebenzi, ngishilo ukuthi umhlonishwa uzokwazi ukuthi anabe kahle. Kodwa at the center of our work is to ensure that the climate for investment attraction in the province is bearing fruits. Last year, myself and Honorable Mtombeni, we were part of the presidential 5th South African Investment Conference, where President Ramaphosa committed government in the past 5 years to raise 1.2 trillion worth of investment into the economy over the past 5 years. We were very excited and happy that as this government led by the African National Congress, the president and all those doomsayers who are there, honorable members, were proven wrong in that the president was able to attract 1.3 trillion worth of investment in our country. We wish to congratulate our president for driving and mobilizing investors into our country, especially at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. Let alone the challenges that we've had as a province of flood, we have been able to ensure that we recover. We have been also beneficiaries of such drive, and we are excited numerous investment that were announced by the president have also found its way to KwaZulu-Natal, such as Heineken, African breweries, which are two leading groups that have announced their 21 billion investment in our province, so as the many other companies that the president has announced. Despite all these challenges that we have faced, we are confident that we will recover the lost ground as this province. Last year alone, the province witnessed investments that were launched by the president, including the SAPIs and the HESTOs, where the president came himself as a commitment that he made to those investors. Our investment also include a number of companies that, again, I've said that honorable member will be able to elaborate better on them. Looking also at the number of opportunities that we are going to be mastering, we see even in some of these projects there are women-owned businesses, which we are very excited with, because indeed it proves that this government does not discriminate, but also will go all the way to support women-owned businesses. The provincial government has introduced various initiatives to take war to the criminals. As pronounced in the State of the Province address and further discussed during the budget hearings, each department did indicate that they have reprioritized their budget to make sure that the 10 million as a beginning, honorable members, that needs to be put towards the crime fighting intervention is indeed budgeted for. The cross-border crime, we've also in ensuring that we fight this crime as a province, we are mounting an intensive offensive to take the war to cross-border criminals. This follows the murders of some of our important community members in the area of Mkhanyakude. And we are really saying we are going to make sure that the lives of these compatriots do not go in vain. The provincial government and the cabinet as a whole has directed the Department of Transport and Community Safety to resume the construction of the concrete wall that will curb the theft of motor vehicles and the movement of illicit goods across our border with Mozambique. The project that is called, others call it Jersey Barriers. In this regard, a crime-fighting Imbizo will be going to the area of Mkhanyakude to further ensure that the programs that we are putting in place, working with our national minister and the whole of the JCPS cluster, is ensuring that everybody that must be brought to book is indeed made to account. The national government has also set aside budget to refurbish a number of police stations, including the Marion Hill Police Station. The KwaZulu-Natal government is also supportive of the work of making sure that our police stations really look like police stations so as to bring dignity as well as energy to the law enforcement agencies to ensure that they have all the resources they need in order to fight crime. The task team will also comprise, on the crime intervention, we have task teams that we've set up, including at eThekwini Municipality, Provincial Government and Public Works, which is part of the government initiatives that is to take the war back to the criminals, but also working with our communities. We remember the gruesome incident in which 19 people were killed in the Marion Hill since February. And Honorable Mtombeni and the cabinet led all the contingent of our provincial government in Imbizo last week, where we allowed our communities to express themselves in terms of how are they receiving the services, but also what is it that needs to be done together in order to curb crime in our areas. We've also looked and identified the gender-based violence and femicide as one of the most embarrassing scourges in our recent history, following some of the gruesome incidents of multiple murders and gender-based violence that we've seen in our communities. We've also asked our communities to ensure that we mobilize and fight back against the crime and criminals, but also rolling out the gender-based violence and femicide strategy. We are also rolling out white door shelters across our province, every district in the province, that will also serve as a victim-friendly facilities for the gender-based violence victims to receive psychosocial support. My honorable member of social development will also elaborate on some of those measures. This is part of the contribution by the provincial government in the fight against crime and gender-based violence and femicide. We will never surrender our province to criminals who in recent times have become brazen and are really sowing fear in our communities, like in Marion Hill, Mbumbulu, Mkhanyakude, and many other areas of our province. A crime-fighting Imbizo that was held also saw the government holding hands with our communities in terms of the interventions that were announced there that will really ensure that all of us fight crime. Chief amongst those interventions have been the revival of community safety forums, working closely with the South African Police Service as well as other law enforcement agencies. We also unveiled 2 park homes that will serve as victim-friendly rooms for the gender-based violent victims to receive the psychosocial support. Through community mobilization crime hotspots are being targeted and eliminated as the central pillar to defeat the criminal networks. Our approach is that crime fighting starts in the communities and families, not because of anything, but because we know that criminals live among us, that criminals live with us. So this is why it is important for all of us in condoning and supporting criminal activities is something that we all need to fight against. Honorable members, more community Izimbizo will be held with a view of assessing the work of government, but also to listen to our people in terms of their real lived experiences in terms of how government is delivering its services. KwaZulu-Natal has also been able to move among the pack in the establishment of the 4RR Commission, following the Presidential Commission on the 4RR, which is Fourth Industrial Revolution. Thus, a team will be assisting the government in implementing the program that the Presidential Commission has set up for the country, but also to make sure that as a province we are guided in order for us to implement the Fourth Industrial Revolution programs. We've also concluded the first training of the data analysts, and through partnership with CETAs, NGOs, service training providers, more young people are being trained in the Fourth Industrial Revolution. We will be able to further detail the work that we are doing and that we're also going to continue doing. In terms of connectivity, a number of people have also engaged with myself in the province to say, in our areas, we want to see connectivity. We are then making sure that working with the Department of Telecommunications and Digital Technologies and the state-owned enterprises in 2023, 2024, 24-25, the province will roll out 7,253 community Wi-Fi hotspots, and more than 1 million households will have access to broadband connectivity across KwaZulu-Natal. A total of 336 million had been committed for the rollout of the Wi-Fi hotspots by both national and provincial governments. Over 350 jobs will be created, and 40% of work is being allocated to the SMMEs. In addition, we are also working with the Development Bank of Southern Africa in finalizing and establishing a joint project management unit that will work in fast-tracking the preparations for investment in KwaZulu-Natal broadband rollout. Working with the South African Connect programs in 2023-24 financial year, we are going to again to be rolling out in the areas or districts of Herigwala. We are putting there 132 Wi-Fi hotspots, Mkanyagude 465 hotspots, Ilembe 443, Amajuba 358, Zululand 602 in this 24-25 financial year. The rollout will see the following districts also being connected: eThekwini, King Cetshwayo, uMgungundlovu, uMzinyathi, uThukela, under the presidential employment stimulus. Herigala will get a 206 and Ugu will get 304 that will be connected. This will be specifically under the presidential project, besides of the projects that we are working with other entities in rolling out those community Wi-Fi hotspots. We have recently, during our Operation Sukuma Sake, ensured that we roll out one of the hotspots in Ugu, taxi rank in Renkonyeni municipality, and any member who goes there is now able to connect to free Wi-Fi in that district, in that taxi rank. Honorable members, Madam Speaker, Office of the Premier will also use the budget to drive the implementation of the elevated commitments that were made in SOPA. This includes the provincial response to energy crisis, youth development, women empowerment, and accelerating of the implementation of the district development model, and taking government to the people to follow up on the commitments that we have made. I know that as we present this budget pay program allocation, we want to say to the honorable members, those honorable members who still do not believe that this government means business, need not to look any further, but to look at our record so far, which speaks for itself in terms of service delivery. We are also, honorable members, looking at how we are rolling out many of other programs that we have spoken about as this provincial government. I'm now going to go through the budgets so as to elaborate what is it that we are doing in terms of our budget. Okay, technology. Honorable members, the budget allocations that we are looking at, the Office of the Premier will use its budget to drive the implementation of the elevated commitments that will ensure that we deliver on our commitments. This includes the provincial response in terms of the energy crisis, youth development, women empowerment, and accelerating the implementation of the district development model. Madam Speaker, I now wish to present to the honorable members the budget as we are presenting. Under budget 1, vote 1. Under vote 1, we present the budget that has been allocated of 2022-23-24, which is 872.57 million. And this is what is reflected in that budget, honorable members. Under administration, institutional development, policy of governance that we are going to be presenting on. Under administration, the department has budgeted 212,767 million. The program provides support to the Executive Council as a whole, which is the Cabinet, the Director General, and in fulfilling their executive functions, promoting cooperative governance and ensuring sound financial management, as well as support and advisory services within the Office of the Premier. There are also 5 sub-programs supporting this program, mainly the Premier support, Executive Council support, Director General support, finance management, as well as intergovernmental relations. This year, the sub-program Premier support is allocated 31.691 million to support the programs, both technically, administratively, advisory to the Premier in the Executive, to be able to discharge our responsibility. Sub-program 2, the Executive Council support, has been allocated 10.840 million to render Secretariat support, as well as the Executive Council, Cabinet, izindaba clusters, and key provincial committees, cabinet clusters. Subcommittee also looks at the Director General support, which is the support that the Director General needs in order for her to carry the responsibilities of Cabinet, the Financial Management Sub-Program, Intergovernmental Relations Sub-Program. This program has been allocated a budget of 36 million. Amongst the priority programs, we will utilize this for the purpose of Operation Sukuma Sake, which is also undergoing rebranding, and we are also working with COGTA to integrate the programs in the district development models. The revitalization of the OSS and DDM continues, and the training of local government councillors and traditional leaders on the revitalized OSS perspective and DDM integration. Engagement are also continuing with all the stakeholders, including traditional leadership, regarding the continuation and the implementation of Nkululeko development projects at Indumo, as well as other Nkululeko 2 and 3. In order for us to ensure the integrated planning, we are working to improve the service delivery of IGR, working with COCTA and SALGA, as well as KZN provincial departments and district municipalities. There are also closely collaboration with the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, embassies, consulates abroad to consolidate our twinning agreements to strengthen our bilateral ties, as well as in-person engagements with partners around the world. These are some of the countries that we have twinned with. There is quite a number of them in Africa as well as in other continents. Program 2, which is the institutional development, is allocated 310. The purpose of this program is to improve service delivery through the institutional capacity building, transformation management in the province. The strategic human resource function is also in this program. We have also developed and rolled out the e-leave, e-submission, e-payslip project and undertook the interventions that are linked to the provincial digital transformation strategy. This includes a one-stop shop, a service portal, not only for the government officials, but as well as for the public to make applications on government posts or any other government services that they want to access. In line with this, we have reviewed our policies, including the recruitment and the selection processes. We have also developed the policy of eliminating and prevention of sexual and harassment in the workplace, as well as the gender-based violence. If we look at a program, the next sub-program, legal services, this project sub-program was allocated 12.99, and the province of KwaZulu-Natal is currently following a decentralized model in the provision of legal services and the unit in coordinating and facilitating the legislative drafting training in partnership with the University of Johannesburg. I would now move to Program 3, Honorable Members, which is Policy and Governance. The purpose of this program is to initiate province-wide development and implementation of strategies and policies to achieve a coordinated approach towards a sustainable development. There are also 3 sub-programs under this, which is provincial policy management, Premier's priority projects, the royal household. These are all the projects under the sub-program. The revenue is also under this program, and this project is looking at the revenue mainly comprises of the commission of PERSOL, deductions such as insurance, premiums, garnishee orders, tender fees, and all those facilities. Honorable members, as we are in the Freedom Month, 29 years ago, the apartheid statutes were burned to ashes, and the keys to more prisons were thrown away as we embrace the historic era of democracy in our country. We must continue to cherish the multiple opportunities that have come with the right to vote, and being under the protective shield of our Constitution, that is a binding task of this provincial government, and it is also meant to change the lives, not through handouts, but by opening access to opportunities for our communities. We have emerged from the destruction of July 2021, as well as the restriction of COVID-19, also looking at the devastating floods that we have ever faced in our history. Thus, Vote 1, which is the budget office of the Premier, is an important indicator of the mood that must prevail in the province, because the role of this office is a transversal coordination of programs of government and through departments. The time of lamentation is over, and it is time for us to work hard. We are indeed accelerating our programs. In conclusion, honorable members, before the conclusion, we are indeed accelerating the economic recovery and reconstruction plan in our province, and it is this resilience that